welcome to another segment of our class on Emunah, on faith. And to those that are watching from the camera, I've always wanted to do this. Welcome to another segment of Fox News, breaking news. We are with you. A few years ago, I found myself in the emergency room in Israel. Baruch Hashem, everything worked out. It was just, I was expecting, and it was a very cute little boy. But I found myself in the emergency room in Israel, and I had to get a IV, an infusion. So the nurse asked me which arm would I like to have the infusion. Would I like to have it in my left arm or my right arm? Very nice, very caring to be able to have the option of choosing which one I wanted. So being the righteous tzaddik saint that I am, I decided that I wanted it on my right arm. And the reason I wanted it on my right arm is because I wear tefillin, I put my phylacteries on my left arm. So if I would have an IV and a needle and a tube in my left arm, I would have a problem, a difficulty putting on tefillin. So I decided, obviously this is all part of the makeup of somebody on my spiritual, high, elevated level. I decided that I wanted it on my right arm. So I told her I want it on my right arm, and I explained to her my reasoning because of the tefillin. And only in Israel this could happen. She turned to me and said, Ein lecha emunah? You have no faith? Now, again, coming from the high pedestal that I was coming on as the tzaddik of the generation, I was a little bit shocked. I said, what do you mean? She said, don't you have emunah? Don't you believe that you could be out of here by tomorrow morning? That you won't have to stay in the hospital? And you could put your tefillin on either arm. And she was right. I suddenly realized that maybe I'm not as great as I thought I was. This is actually something my wife has been trying to teach me for many years. But I suddenly realized she had an important message. Ein lecha emunah, don't you have emunah? Sometimes we have this idea like, yeah, it's in the back of our head, or it's something that if I need, I'll say it. But when it comes to crunch time, do you believe? Do you have faith that in the day-to-day, that in the humdrum of regular daily life, that Hashem is with you, that God is with you, that God will help you? So this is along the lines of what we were discussing, Ein lecha emunah. We need to ask ourselves, do we have emunah? And not only do we have it, but where do we get it? Where does emunah come from? This is the question that we're going to focus on. Where do we get emunah? Where do we get our faith? And in truth, there are many different parts, and we'll go in the following segments, we're going to discuss it. And it's a very, very eye-opening discussion about where a person gets his belief, where a person gets his emunah. So before we continue, we're going to pause for station identification, and I'm going to tell you a story. Now, the difference, there's a word in Yiddish for story called a maisa. A maisa and a story sound like almost the same thing, but there's a slight difference. Allow me to explain. In a story, it's the author or the narrator of the story's job, or the hope is, that the characters in the story will end up living happily ever after. That's in a story. In the Maisa, the hope is that the people hearing the story will end up living happily ever after. Meaning that when there's a Maisa, there's a message that we're supposed to learn that will change us, that we will live happily ever after. So there's an old Yiddish Maisa, and the Maisa goes as follows. In the olden days in Europe, there was a man who was a rabid anti-Semite, and his job was that he helped people forget things. He was a hypnotist, and he would help people forget traumatic experiences or different things that they wanted to forget. So he would put them in a trance, and he would help them forget things. So a Jew came to him seeking help. He had a traumatic experience that he wanted to forget, to erase from his memory. Maybe his wife burnt the gefilte fish. Maybe the cholent didn't come out good. Something really, really serious that he wanted to remove from his memory. So he comes to this hypnotist and he says, please help me forget it. So the hypnotist takes out his little glass ball and he hypnotizes him and he helps him forget it. And while he's in this trance, this conniving, scheming hypnotist, again, the rabid anti-Semite says, and now forget you're a Jew. So the Jew responds, I can't. So the hypnotist says, but why? He says, I cannot forget I'm a Jew because there's a God. So the hypnotist said, well then forget there's a God. And he says, I can't. The hypnotist says, why? And he says, because I'm a Jew. Now the moral of the story is that for a Jew, God is a reality. God is part of, belief in God is part of our makeup, our DNA. There was a poem written years ago, probably when I was a teenager, called My Fellow Jew. And one of the stanzas, one of the lines was very beautiful. If I would look into your heart, I would see the face of God. A Jew in his heart has belief in God. It's there, it's inherent, it's internal, and it's also eternal. It always was there, and it will always be there. It's something that has been given to him, or he has inherited, just as much as his blood type, just as much as he looks like his parents who looked like their grandparents, so too there is belief in God. Actually, in Hebrew, the word for an agnostic or an atheist or somebody who doesn't believe in God, the word is a kofar. Somebody who denies God's existence is called a kofar. But in truth, the word kofar actually means cover up. For example, Noah, when he built the ark to hold all the animals, he covered the teva. The Torah says he was kofar oto basid. He covered it with a certain amount of tar. So the truth is that somebody who doesn't believe in God, we don't call him an agnostic or an atheist. We call him somebody who's covering it up. There are many reasons why he may cover it up, or maybe it was covered up for him by his lacking in education, etc. But ultimately, somebody who doesn't believe is just a show. It's just a cover-up. Because deep down, there's no atheists in a foxhole, and Jews are always in a foxhole. In the Holocaust and throughout history, those people who were so far removed from Jewish belief, from Judaism in general, and from faith in God, when it came to crunch time, when it came to difficult times, tragedy, etc., persecution, ultimately the faith shined. So belief and faith is an inherent quality in the Jewish people. There are some who explain that this is one of the reasons why when God gave the 10 Commandments and ultimately the entire Torah, he never said specifically that there was a mitzvah, a commandment to believe in God. And the reason is because you don't need to command what already exists. The belief is there. The faith is there. It needs to be uncovered. It needs to be revealed. But it's inside. So if you're looking for faith, if you're looking to believe, if you're looking to trust in Hashem, just like that Jew told the hypnotist, I cannot forget God because I'm a Jew. And I cannot forget that I'm a Jew because there's a God. It's there. You need to try to feel it. You need to try to reveal it. You need to pull off some layers to uncover it. But ultimately, it's there. It's inside. It's, as we said, inherent faith, it's internal faith, and it's eternal. So, Be'ezrat Hashem, we will learn some techniques, how to reveal it, how to uncover it, how to rediscover what is truly there, the inspirational faith that we have just by being Jews.